It's me, Mario. Hello.
This is From Justin to Kane, a podcast where Mike Robertson and Bob Wahoooo watch one critically acclaimed film and one terrible film and talk about how they are the same. It's mostly a bit, but we do From Justin to Shame. And we just talk about the most shameful moments from our life, and we compare them and figure out how they're actually just the same moments, even though we're two different people.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's a good idea.
It's like one time I'll have poopied my pants, one time you'll have poopied your pants. We'll figure out how those two poopy pants times were actually the same. One and the same.
From Justin to Page also is one you came up with, where you just talk about books.
Yeah. From Justin to Cage, where we go through every single Nicolas Cage film and we realize that they're all in the same cinematic universe.
I love that idea, actually.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. Well, this is a special episode.
Yes.
It's our second installment of From Justin to Game.
Yes.
What are the two games we're going to talk about here, Mike?
So we're talking about Super Mario 64,
That's right.
masterpiece from 1996, and Night Trap from 1991?
92. Yeah.
Maybe a masterpiece. We'll see.
It's, I'd say the legacy of Night Trap is more interesting than Mario, but Mario just, is the pinnacle of 90s gaming.
Yes, for sure.
So I think they both offer good things, but they're both so different. It's funny. They're just really different games.
I agree.
Yeah.
But they're the same.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're here. Everyone knows that they're
doing.
different, but we're going to prove to you that they're actually the same game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's start with Mario, because I feel like there's more to talk about with Night Trap.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, Super Mario 64, you could talk about that forever.
And we do. We bring it up often.
We talk about we talk about it often. Bob is kind of going through a Mario 64 renaissance. Our Mario renaissance.
I've collected 44 stars.
You are friggin' taking forever to play this game.
Hey, I don't play it every day.
Because I have a remastered version of it.
On your pewter?
On my Switch. The Mario All-Stars collection or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm already further ahead than you, and I've only played a couple hours.
I don't have a large history with the game, okay? I don't remember. I'm often YouTubing how to find fucking stars, okay?
Right. I have this in my bones.
I know you do. It's part of your DNA.
I know all of this stuff. Like, I can just play it and know where everything is just from playing it as a kid. And we didn't friggin' have YouTube videos, man.
You just read magazines?
Yeah, I didn't even get it from magazines, though. Yeah, you kind of, if you were really, really stuck, your friends knew. And they somehow, I don't know how they knew, but...
Yeah, I mean, now, it's like IGN.com or something that we use, and it'll just give you a play-by-play in writing of how to find it, or we watch walkthroughs on the old YouTube.
Yeah, I think IGN started as a Nintendo 64 fan site first.
Oh, really?
I think it was like Nintendo 64 GN.com. I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know what it was originally called. But anyway, so let's talk about Mario 64 and the history.
Yes.
Something that's interesting about trying to find out facts about Super Mario 64 is a couple of years ago, there was a thing called the Giga Leak, where some hackers managed to get a hold of a lot of backed up files, I guess, from Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of information about the game now that was never released officially.
Like what?
For one, we know when the game started development because they found a file that basically just talked about the copyright of the programming or whatever the hell. I don't understand how all that works, but basically they know that they started on September 7th, 1994, and it ended in May 20th, 1996. So this game was made over 2 years.
That's a quick turnaround for a video game.
That's a very quick... Well, I mean, the turnaround was because the Nintendo 64 was supposed to come out in the 1995, I think? Or maybe it was always planned to come out in 96. But anyway, they had to delay it. And Mario 64 was essentially just rushed the whole time. So this kind of masterpiece of gaming that kind of redefined video games, as a lot of people think.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they were just really time crunching. And I think there's
more like a slapdash way of putting this game together in time for a release.
Yeah, exactly. So
Huh.
I think there's like only 20 people working on it too, which is much different from now where
It's like hundreds.
have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people working on it. It'll cost millions of dollars, not billions. And it'll take years. Like sometimes a game is in development for 5 years
Mm-hmm.
or more sometimes, like Cyberpunk 2077, I think. They've been working on that for like, 6 to 8 years or something like that. So pretty wild.
Yeah, frick, man.
But they did release it in September 29th, 1996, a day after my birthday.
Wow.
The system and the game came out the same day. This is in America. It came out earlier in Japan.
When did it come out in Canada? Later, I'm sure.
No, it was the same day.
Oh, same day as the States.
Yeah, and I had pre-ordered a Nintendo 64 and Mario 64 and an extra controller from Sears catalog.
Yes, nice.
And so I had to wait for it to come in. But I had to go to a store, I think, to place a pre-order.
Wow. So instead of just buying it from the store, you go to the store, you pre-order it, and then you go back to the store and pick it up as if you had just purchased it from the store in the first place.
Yeah, I don't remember if it came in the mail or if we had to go get it at the store. But yeah, we got it through Sears, which is insane to me to think about now.
Well, even when I was a kid, Sears had the catalog still, and they had a huge like toy fun time section.
Oh yeah,
You
that
could
was
get
the best
like
thing to look at.
circular saw or like a giant play thing
Yeah.
or a couch. Sears really had it going on for a while there.
They did, yeah. and then
R.I.P.,
they kinda
they're
just dropped the
dead.
ball. I think that they were kind of a holdout for online shopping, and that kind of spelled their doom. They also seem like a relic of the 80s too. It's like Zellers. It's like you can't imagine Zellers existing in the 21st century, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. I'm thankful I got the tail end of both of those companies, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I never really shopped there, but, I'm glad.
But if I showed you a picture of Zeddy the bear, would you know who that was?
No. Is that Zellers' mascot?
Yeah, he's a bear from Zellers.
Huh. And then Sears had a seal named Sal.
Did they?
No, I'm just kidding. I just made
okay.
that up. I have no idea. This is Sal, Sears seal. Wouldn't that be great?
I love that.
R.I.P. to department stores, you know what I mean?
I know.
That's really the end of an era. Now the department store is your phone.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, or Walmart.
Yeah, I guess Walmart's going strong.
Yeah, but they've kind of monopolized the industry, I think.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Depending on where they are.
So the game kind of came about post Star Fox. So Mario 64 wouldn't really exist if it wasn't for the Super Nintendo game Star Fox.
Really?
Because they were trying to develop a 3D game as early as like 1991, so pre-Night Trap even.
Well, no. In the mid-'80s, people were fucking with full motion video
I know.
gaming.
Well, I know, but I'm talking about like before
Release
the release
dates?
of it. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So they were trying to come up with a 3D Mario game. Nintendo had a sub company called Argonaut Games, and there's a guy named Giles Goddard.
I'm just going to say this as a quick digression. I think Giles needs to come back. Don't you?
I agree.
That's a great name. I just watched all the Harry Potter films, and I'm surprised there isn't a Giles in there. Maybe there is, and I missed it.
There probably
That's
is.
such a British fucking name. Get a cat, name it Giles.
George Martin from the Beatles, or of the producing the Beatles fame.
Yeah.
His son's name is Giles.
Really, Giles Martin.
And Giles is remixing all the new albums every time they come out with a 50th anniversary edition or whatever now.
Huh. That's a sweet gig.
Yeah, which are worth listening to, I'd say. The mixes sound really good. If you've got really good cans.
Hey, I got great cans. Audio-Technica treating me well with some M4s or whatever the fuck they're called. Yeah, it's great.
Well,
Mike's got great cans too. I'm looking at them right here.
They're good.
Beautiful
Jesus.
cans. Big, beautiful cans on his head.
Put on the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club remastered. Sounds pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to have to give that a listen.
All the stereo mixes are not like mixed to the left for the drums and everything, you know? Oh, the old mixes they used to do.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're like, this sounds good, to put everything except for a guitar and Paul McCartney on one
the
side.
left and then something on the right. And it's like, yeah.
I mean, if you first heard stereo for the first time in a headphone, that was probably mind-blowing at the time, but now it just sounds like really, really bad.
Yeah. Well, I think Pink Floyd is kind of one of the earlier bands to like play with stereo recording and actually like fuck with you, you know? Like they like Dark Side of the Moon, they had that sweet sound effect in either the first or second track where they would like swoosh between the left and right throughout the song, and it's just very like disorienting and fun.
But we're talking about Mario 64.
Sorry, that was from Justin to Toon.
Giles Goddard worked for Argonaut Software, which is like a sub company that Nintendo kind of worked with. They came up with the Super Effects chip, which was a little microchip that you put inside the cartridge of every Star Fox game, and that kind of gave it the little computing power that it needed to do 3D rendering. And so they were tinkering around with around that time with making a 3D Mario game. But if you ever played Star Fox or Stunt Race FX or any of the other kind of like FX chip games, they all are kind of like really clumsy, very, very polygonal in the sense of like the Money for Nothing music video, you know? So,
yeah.
So they kind of waited for the next system, and they kind of built the system around the Mario 64.
It kind of feels that way.
Yeah, so the controller, I mean, yeah, if everything about this game, like the control stick, the analog thing, the yellow buttons is for camera.
Yeah.
It all kind of seems like, because they were developing it at the exact same time.
It feels like with later games, the game had to accommodate the controller. Like when you play GoldenEye, you could really use a second thumbstick, but there wasn't one. One of
the control methods in the original GoldenEye, I don't know if you remember this, you can play with it this way if you want. You can set one of the control methods where you use two controllers. So you can hold them in two hands, yeah. But do you have stupid. GoldenEye?
I own GoldenEye, yeah. I play it. Campaign's pretty fun.
What's your control method?
I forget what it's called, but you walk and aim with the thumbstick.
Oh, okay.
And it just intuitively kind of shoots at the people. Like it's pretty easy.
Yeah, I can't remember what that one's called. That's the first one. It's
like Southpaw or something stupid. Yeah. It has a weird, stupid name.
I use Solitaire, which is where you use the yellow stick to drive your character, and then you use the analog stick to move to look around.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
It's the closest it is to playing a modern game.
Yeah,
I guess, but it is a little bit weird, I guess.
It definitely feels like they just had to accommodate.
Yeah.
The system, you know?
Yeah. But still, that was still a game-changing game.
Great game. Yeah. GoldenEye is fun, actually. Even now, it's like the campaign is fun.
Yeah. Is multiplayer not fun anymore?
I don't love it. No.
Okay.
It's no Halo. It's no Halo where you just have rocket launchers and nothing else, you know?
Yeah.
There's more fun to be had with newer games.
I think, also, it's definitely a relic of the time, and the... multiplayer playing games at a sleepover situation. Like GoldenEye works in that context. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I feel like if you're an adult trying to recapture the magic, it's a fool's errand.
Yeah, yeah. You can't go into it with the expectation that it's going to feel like, a modern game, like, say, something on the Xbox 360. Lol,
exactly.
Not modern either, but...
No.
I don't know. It's you need to have the right lens on to play those games and enjoy them, but they are enjoyable.
So Giles Goddard, a little bit more about him. He didn't actually work on Mario 64 specifically, but the work he did with like the 3D stuff with Nintendo is very important, I guess. Mm-hmm. So he was hired by Nintendo when he was 19, which is kind of insane.
Wow.
He was kind of developing this coding stuff.
He's like a prodigy. He's like a garage prodigy.
Yeah, exactly. They were going to make a 3D Yoshi platformer, Argonaut, and they kind of created demos. Nintendo was like, we don't really want to do this. And then they kind of took the ideas that Argonaut created for the Yoshi one and made Mario 64. So there's some talk that, basically the Nintendo company just ripped off all of the stuff that Argonaut did with the Yoshi demo.
That's hilarious.
They're like, we don't want this. And then they kind of made a very, very similar game, but with Mario at the center of it. And that game was later released for the PlayStation as a game called Croc.
Oh.
So you play as like a green guy who jumps around, and it's very, very similar to Mario 64.
So it's not Croc, and you're a slip-on shoe, and you just jump around. You're trying to fit on feet. You're trying to find the foot that fits you. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be a fun little game? We should make an indie game. Let's learn how to code and make a little indie game for all our canines.
Yeah, so Croc did come out, and Argonaut put it out, and it was not a hit necessarily. Kind of was being developed at the same time as Mario 64, but then it came out afterwards, so Mario 64 beat them through the marketplace, I guess. And while they were developing the N64. So they had a whole bunch of prototype controllers. And one of them I read was a modded Sega controller, like a Genesis controller. So they just kind of altered that, put a little thumbstick in there. And so it's funny, they just kind of used whatever they could, just testing stuff. But then I think they settled on the thumbstick, which, kind of changed video games, I think, at the time.
Oh, definitely. That would have been a massive innovation, for sure.
Yeah, it was kind of mind-blowing, but it is basically just a joystick.
But a joystick takes your whole hand, right?
Yeah, it does. Well, in the 80s, there was a system called the Intellivision, which we had. My dad bought one at, I don't know. My dad
Sears?
bought one, and then, yeah, probably at Sears. And it cost many, many hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
$300 to $500 or something like that at the time, which was a lot of money.
That's over easily. That's probably $1,300.
Yeah, and that's it just kind of played Space Invaders quality games.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even we did have Space Invaders. There was a baseball game. Everything looked like crap, but it was mind blowing to play video games for the first time, I guess. And they had a little joystick thing on there, so it wasn't as obviously advanced as the 64 controller, but still. It was kind of, the analog stick wasn't a new idea, but they refined it to the point that now it's a pretty standard issue on every controller.
Yeah.
Originally, the game was supposed to be called Ultra Mario 64 or Ultra Mario Brothers. The system was going to be called the Ultra 64.
Definitely, Ultra has a connotation to it, and I don't know if that would have been appropriate.
You mean like MK Ultra?
No, what's that? I don't know what that is.
Oh, that's where the United States government was testing drugs on people.
Oh, that's exactly what I meant. Yeah. There's a connotation to it. That connotation. No,
Yeah.
Ultra just makes it seem like it's more epic than it actually is.
I know, yeah.
Because the Nintendo is famously an underperforming system on a technical level.
No, it actually isn't.
No, it is.
No, it isn't.
The PlayStation outperforms it in every way.
Well, no.
And they almost came out at the same time.
The PlayStation I believe, has a faster processor and is capable of processing more information. But I think that the ability for the N64 to render pixels and polygons is better. And it has anti-aliasing. So anyway, a little bit more about this. Shigeru Miyamoto was the director of the game. He famously created Mario, Donkey Kong, Legend of Zelda, Pikmin, blah, blah, blah. So he said he wanted to make a game that was a 3D cartoon. So he says, I want to create a small garden where Mario can meet real-time 3D characters and play, and the player would be able to move the character with the controller just as if it were a real cartoon. And he told the designers to make as many different movements as possible. So they had nearly 250 animation for Mario, but they only used 193 or 95, something like that. So yeah, that kind of is one of the coolest things about the game. And I think why it works is because it doesn't try and translate 2D Mario to 3D the same way. It kind of is we're just giving you a lot of things to do with Mario, and you get to jump around in this playpen kind of. When you start the game and then you're in that area and there's a bunch of trees and stuff, there's not anything going on, but you just get to play with the stick and jump around and do all your jumps, and just there's so many different moves Mario has that it's that's almost a game in itself. I just remember playing that for the first time and it was I've never played anything like this before. And there were 3D games on the PlayStation, but for whatever reason this just changed everything in a more, I don't know, amplified way, I guess. Because there was a game called Jumping Flash on the PlayStation where it was a 3D game, but it was all done from the first person. So you always knew where you were landing because you would always look down. Whereas Mario 64 was third person, which was a little harder to make work.
Right.
Anyway, so it still seemed like it was mind blowing when I played that, even though I had played Jumping Flash before that and a bunch of other kind of cool PlayStation games. Mm-hmm. What a time to be alive.
They really figured out the physics, when you jump, there's a shadow obviously, but you just kind of get spatially aware. Whoever did that math made it very fluid.
Well, I read an interview with Miyamoto and he was talking about how when they made the 2D games, they could basically design it down to the pixel. So they knew exactly what was possible within the pixels. Whereas in this game, they had to kind of fudge it a little bit. And so if you jumped onto a platform and you just narrowly missed it at the edge, they kind of just gave you a little leg up, So there would be, I think, some fudging like that where if you were close enough, then it worked. Like when you jump on a Goomba, because you have to like know exactly when to jump in order to land on it. So
yeah, the Goomba, you can like hit it sideways and it'll die in the 3D game.
And I think that was probably the best way to make it work. Otherwise, it would have been way too hard and nobody would want to play it. Yeah, and so as you said, like having a shadow, regardless of the light source, makes it way easier to jump because you can always puts a little dot on where you're going to land, and I think that's very clever. It works very well. The opening where you can like play with Super Mario's face, that was created by Giles and the team with Silicon Graphics, which was which was a company that Nintendo worked with on the hardware. And so Giles was working in Nintendo's research and development department, which was basically like a department where they just kind of like dick around, throw stuff at the walls and see what sticks, I guess, which is how they used to make a lot of games back in the day, because there was a much smaller team, smaller budget, and so they could kind of just spend a couple months playing around, be like, oh, this is kind of a game. And I think they still do that to some degree.
There was a lot less pressure back then. I feel like there's a lot of hype now with gaming. It's like how movies have transformed into just like a hype pyramid of like, or like a cycle of hype.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas back in the day, I'm sure you just see a game and be like, what is
exactly this? And then, well, also, there's the expectations now of just like what a game is, and they don't really push themselves too much outside of what people expect. So when they were working on when Giles Goddard was working, he had made a workstation with like a webcam, and he was trying to see if he could like make basically a really low rent mocap thing. And Miyamoto saw him doing that and was like, why don't we try and do that with Mario and put that in the game? So that's how the opening kind of came about. They just figured out that you could kind of mocap a Mario head onto a person, and then they also figured out you could we can stretch it, and like that's what this part of the game is. Like, how much time do you spend when you play Mario 64 dicking around on Mario's face? Pardon that phrase.
All the time, brother, all the time. Yeah, it's fun though. It's like a fun little detail.
Yeah, it's a fun detail, and it also seems the graphics on that are actually still pretty sweet.
Yeah, it looks really good. Honestly, like the N64 looks pretty good.
There's a lot of games that still look pretty good.
I think the game they had the most difficulty with was like Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Because rendering distances was tough, from what I understand. And so it would be like rendering as you come towards it. So you really had to learn how to read like just broken pixels and stuff to be like, oh shit, it's banking this way or this way.
It did look better on an old TV though. So the thing with Mario's face also is a good kind of segue to the guy who does Mario's voice, Charles Martinet. So Charles Martinet had previously voiced Mario in like a CD-ROM like education game for computers. But then there's a thing called Space World, which was kind of like E3 in Japan. And Charles Martinet was hired to kind of improvise wearing this like mocap thing, and people would walk by and there'd be a Mario who would talk to them, except he would say dumb stuff like, hey, you want the spaghetti? Like he was not, I don't think he's a great improviser. But anyway, so an interview with Charles Martinet, when he's talking about when he did an audition for the character of Super Mario, he says, what popped into my brain was a character I'd played in The Taming of the Shrew. I was Petruccio going back to get his wife in Italy. And I was a sort of, Mamma Mia, nice old Italian guy. So I thought I'd do something like that, which is what he says about when he auditioned for Mario. And I guess they just were like, yeah, let's just go with the most stereotypical Italian thing. They must have thought that was... They must not have had any better auditions then.
Well, probably everyone did the exact same bit.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. It's like this hyper stereotype. I love his like thespian answer though. It's like, oh yes, I recall the time I played so and so in Taming of the Shrew. You know, it's just that's such a classic answer.
But also, previous to that, Mario was represented as a gruff Brooklynite, like in the Mario Brothers movie, and then in like the cartoons and stuff. He's just like, hey, what is it, Mario, Luigi? What do you want?
Arguably a more accurate Italian.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
Well, yeah, Charles Martinet's kind of makes it so that he's like he just got out of the home country of Italy, you know, and he's somehow ended up in the Mushroom Kingdom, I guess, and it was just like just learned English, just enough to get by.
I mean, he showed up in the Mushroom Kingdom, because he had to lay some pipe. He's a plumber, for crying out loud. Had to lay some pipe all night long.
To satisfy that woman.
So Luigi was supposed to be in the game as a second player. Because they were rushing the game under the tight deadline. And the system only comes with one controller, so that they could hit a certain price target. They figured it only comes with one controller, and we can't really make it fun to play with two people under the tight deadline because they only worked on it for freaking 2 years. So Luigi was cut. That was another thing that was in the leaks. There's some hilarious models of what the Luigi character was going to look like.
Really bad.
No. It's just the way that they just have pictures of the model kind of unassembled. So it's just a bunch of Luigi parts in a pile.
Oh, that's great. Making a video game must be so weird.
Yeah. The picture I saw of Luigi, he looked like his whole body got squashed and his head was kind of sticking out of his butt.
That's great. That's great.
The bunny in the game is called Mips. That's what the name of the bunny's name is.
Nips?
That's what the name of the bunny is. Not
NIPS?
MIPS. Not
Mips. I see.
The bunny's name is Nips.
And you're just trying to flick him the whole time?
Yeah. So the bunny was the second character made for the game. Just because in the original demo, when they were just kind of dicking around, they were like, we need Mario to chase something. So they made a bunny for him to chase. So MIPS stands for microprocessor without interlocked pipeline stages, whatever the hell that means.
What a boring acronym.
Oh, I know. I was expecting something fun and exciting, but nope, it's very boring. So
wow, that sucks.
But they did keep it in the game just because everybody was so charmed by the bunny. And so he just kind of appears in that one dungeon, and Mario has to chase him down to get a star. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, if you're hearing some spoiler alerts now, that's on you.
Yeah, that's on you.
That's on you.
Also, another similar fact. They spent 6 months making Bob-omb's Battlefield.
Really?
The first level.
Yeah.
And then the other ones were, to quote Miyamoto, just kind of thrown together.
It seems that way.
Yeah, the first
some
level
of the lava
was very
levels,
well crafted and very worked on.
Yeah, I like once you get further into the game, you can see it just degrade. Basically.
A little bit, yeah.
Especially the lava levels. I was like, ooh, this is sloppy, and the water stuff is kind of funny because they just there isn't anything except huge bodies of water.
Yeah,
and it's there's a gate at the bottom. You got to get through the gate, and there's just a snake.
Yeah,
fucking around or getting into the ship,
Yeah,
it feels like it fell apart, which is hilarious.
Yeah, but it makes sense also. That design philosophy still kind of works because they put in the painting idea where you just kind of jump into these little mini worlds. So yeah, they're not all winners. But
equal.
For when I played it back then, I never thought about that. I was like, this is all equally consistent.
Yeah. I mean, they're all fun for different reasons, too. They all have their charm because of either the lack of work or the amount of work put into
exactly, yeah. So Bob-omb's Battlefield was kind of also a great example of just a very limited space because of the limited information they had for the game. Just trying to squeeze so many secrets into every little nook and cranny because it's such a dense space of just you have to make this replayable dozens of times. So just figure out ways to use the same space for new stuff. So I think it works. Some of the other levels not so much, but
it's fun.
Yeah. And then finally they added this game to the Smithsonian in 2011 because it's a very influential piece of gaming. So there you go.
Big part of history.
Truly.
I feel like we chose two chunky, juicy games.
Oh yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about Night Trap. Also, do you have a personal memory of this game when it came out?
I only remember it because, I wasn't a Sega guy. I was a Nintendo guy.
Right.
So, and back in those days, owning two systems meant you were very wealthy.
Yes, right.
Whereas now, I have more video games than I could play in my entire lifetime.
Yeah. Everything's just getting cheaper and cheaper.
I didn't have a Sega, and I only knew 2 or 3 friends who had Segas, and I only had one friend who had a Sega CD, and I was not close with him. So.
Right. For that very reason, right?
Yeah. I did go over to his house and play it, but we only played Sewer Shark, and I think we played the one where you get to make your own music video.
Right. Sewer Shark was like, actually, it's funny you bring that up because that and Night Trap were going to be like the two sort of like prime examples of full motion video gaming.
Mm-hmm.
And Night Trap cost $1 million, and Sewer Shark cost $3.1 million.
Oh, wow.
Which at the time was like astronomical.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Night Trap was released in 1992. It's an interactive movie video game. And the first system it was released on was the Sega CD, which is like, from what I understand, it's an addition you attach to the Sega Genesis to beef it up so that it becomes a CD-ROM system instead of a Sega cartridge system.
Yeah.
Like you put it on top or something. Like it's like attaches to the top of the Sega Genesis. Is that?
Yeah, that's
I was looking
right.
at pictures and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? I don't understand.
Yeah, that's right. They basically, you don't put it on top of the Sega Genesis. It's like a thing you put right beside it, and then you place the Sega Genesis on this little platform that comes with the Sega CD.
Oh, okay.
And then there was another thing they came out with, I think in 94 or 95, called the Sega 32X, which was and it basically made your 16-bit system a 32-bit system and played very similar games. It didn't look all that different.
Innovation. And then so the CD-ROM accessory added functionality like better CPU and graphics rendering.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason they wanted to like lean towards CDs is because CDs had 320 times more storage than a Sega cartridge.
That's right.
So it just seemed like, I think that everyone was leaning towards CDs as the future of gaming, except for Nintendo, I guess. They were like, fuck all y'all. We're going to go cartridge all the way. Except for the GameCube.
They actually made a deal with Sony to make a Nintendo PlayStation.
Really?
Yeah. And then they changed their mind and went with Philips, a different company, and then changed their mind again and just totally didn't do anything. So as a result, Sony was just like, well, we'll just take what we kind of made and make our own thing, which at the time was a risky move for Sony, but then they went ahead with it. And obviously a great choice.
Yeah.
Worked out for them very, very well. And then the Philips CDI was a huge bomb. And Nintendo, based on some sort of contract, gave them the ability to make games with their properties. So there's some really bad Zelda and Mario games that Nintendo had no hand in.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which, you should definitely look up. They're just god-awful.
I would love to play those or see them in action.
I don't know that you would want to play them, but...
Right. But you want to watch somebody play them.
Yeah, you want to watch somebody play them and go, well, this is garbage. This sucks. YouTubers, whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about, but I guess the most famous thing about this game isn't even the fact that it was sort of the first full motion video game. There's a lot of controversy in the early 90s because of the sort of abundance of violence that was starting to crop up within the video game industry.
Mm-hmm.
And so in 1993, the first of several congressional hearings were held by Senators Joe Lieberman and Herb Kohl. Both famously had never played any of the games that they were basically taking to task.
Yeah.
And I don't know much about them, but I assume they're just like, good Christian weirdos or whatever from middle America. And they were disturbed by what was cropping up in the video game market because Night Trap was controversial, but there was also Mortal Kombat and Doom.
Yeah.
And so there was an abundance of violence and they all got roped in together. And then all of the game developers had to go to these congressional hearings and basically defend their games.
Yeah.
So it was Mortal Kombat, Night Trap, Lethal Enforcers, and later Doom. There were multiple hearings, but after the first hearing, then Doom was released. And that just like even further perpetuated this notion that violent video games were going to like take over the industry and corrupt the basically children of America. Yeah. That was like the whole onus was just on like the messaging behind these games and how it was going to make people bad or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think you could see it with film in the 30s, like once they created censorship and they realized that they needed to like rate films. But there was like a period right before where they could just film anything and release anything.
Uh-huh.
And then the government stepped in and now you're seeing it with video games in the 90s. And it's kind of an interesting echo of like what film faced. And then over time, films just got more and more violent and like the rating system became more and more lenient.
Yeah.
And then you saw the same thing with video games, because like Night Trap was a mature game once it was finally had a rating. And now when it comes out, it's a teen game on its 20th anniversary release or whatever.
Yeah, I played it. I played it a couple months ago on the Switch, and I was like, "This is pretty tame."
She's tame. It's a tame game for sure.
But I remember when that happened, and it was like, "Oh my god, this game is so filthy," or whatever. Everybody was kind of so shocked by it, and I had no exposure to it, so I just believed it, I guess, all that.
Yeah. Well, so famously, Joe Lieberman, who had never played the game, talked to the creators, and he was like, "This film is going to promote like sexual assault and violence against women." And then they basically said like, "Well, no, the game is the opposite of that. You're trying to prevent that at all costs." So there was a real like conflict of like understanding what the game actually was. And apparently the cover of the game, which is not saucy at all, was deeply upsetting and controversial for people. As was, there was one cutscene that showed what happens when you lose. And the main character just gets like eaten by these like vampire-esque monsters that try to intrude in the home.
They're called augurs.
Whatever. The augurs. Oh yeah, I guess I should explain what this game is if you don't know. So it's like a series. You're watching a film basically, but then you can affect it by setting off traps in a house because you're some sort of vague secret agent in a control room somewhere.
Yeah.
And these teenagers are going to have a slumber party, and they don't realize that they're in grave danger, and you need to protect them by setting off traps as these augurs move through the different hallways. And so you're switching between cameras and trying to time everything so that you can sink these augurs into traps. And then if you fail, the augurs make it in and they kill everybody and you lose. So it's a game where you just get further and further as you learn the patterns. Yeah. Which makes it not fun to play, frankly.
Yeah, at the time, I'm sure it was very fun just because the novelty of seeing the video in the video game was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But now it's just like, oh my God, I can't get through a couple of tries.
Yeah, I played it on the Switch like 6 months ago, and we were also fascinated by the nostalgia of it. But then as soon as you actually, like, watching somebody play it is more fun than playing it because it sucks. It's really boring and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
But you can beat it. You can win the game.
Yes.
It's not easy, but people have done it.
I did beat it, but I also got frustrated and annoyed because I was like, I'm not going to try and like learn through trial and error. So I just looked up a walkthrough where someone's like, press it here, don't press it here kind of thing.
Wow.
So I got all the way to the end. I did played a couple of times.
After you give me so much shit for watching Mario walkthroughs, you just give yourself away like that, Mike?
Yeah.
Ugh. Anyways, it's boring.
It is boring, yeah.
Apparently the guy who like redid the reissue or whatever, he got all the like master tapes of the footage and stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
But he had to play through the OG game to actually see what the hell was supposed to happen. So he had to beat it for real to know what to do with the reissue, which is hilarious.
He had to basically redesign the entire game.
Yes, he did. I guess also famously during the congressional hearings, some guy at Nintendo said Night Trap would never be on a Nintendo system.
That's right.
And he made it seem like it was for moralistic reasons, but it was actually because the game required too much that the N64 couldn't provide.
Yeah.
It did not have the specs to handle the game since it was a cartridge-based system. But then in 2018, it was reissued on the Switch, and many people have documented the irony of this, and that it was sworn that Nintendo would never have Night Trap, and then sure enough, it ended up on the Switch.
Well, also Nintendo was kind of going down a moral path, I think, back then, because they released Mortal Kombat with no blood.
Oh, really?
For the Super Nintendo, it just had sweat when you got punched. So that was very controversial for Mortal Kombat fans. It was kind of like you had to figure out what side you on. You know?
Oh, I bet. Well, so interestingly enough, after these congressional hearings, the result was the formation of the Entertainment Software Association, which was basically an association to support and speak on behalf of the video game business and the private sector. And then after that, the Entertainment Software Ratings Board was created also known as the ESRB, which you can see on any sleeve of a video game, even to this day. And they created the rating system of like, what is it? E, T, T10 or something?
Yeah, E for everyone,
M?
T for teen, M for mature.
I remember as a kid, there was like a T12 or something. There was like a hyper-specific teen one.
Yeah.
But anyways, they created that rating system, and it's still in effect today. And that was all as a result of these congressional hearings. And it basically just became like an agreed-upon system for all video game manufacturers so that they could... Because Night Trap was released in Toys R Us and like Buckabee's Toys or something in North America.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the name of the other business, but... Anyways, the government basically forced them to take them off the shelf.
KB's Toys.
KB's Toys, yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they got yoinked. But it's funny because Mortal Kombat was never like shut down, even though it was more violent and like much more intense of a game.
Oh yeah.
But Night Trap, for some reason, probably the like inherent salaciousness of it, because it was like there was like movie footage.
Yeah.
Of teens getting killed, that it, you know, maybe there's just a connotation there that people couldn't shake. But that the video game was like damaged irreversibly because of the bad press that it was getting.
Right.
And it really hurt Sega as well. But yeah, anyways, they formed these things, but Mortal Kombat never really saw any serious flack. Like there's controversy, but like Toys R Us kept selling it.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat had full motion videos too.
Oh, see, there you go.
That was what was revolutionary about it back then, was just that they kind of digitized these people.
I've never played it, so I don't know.
You never played Mortal Kombat?
I've played the new one, the newest one, which is straight up violent, like super violent, but I've never played the OG ones. I've seen the movies. I've seen every film adaptation. They all suck, in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there. So famously also, this video game stars Dana Plato, who was the female lead, the only celebrity in the game. And she's interesting because she had sort of a very tragic short life.
She did, yeah.
As an actor, she worked in TV and film. As a child, she was a figure skater. Her first role was in The $6 Million Man, and then she was like in The Exorcist 2 and Return to Boggy Creek. Her breakthrough was in an Oscar-winning film called California Suite, and her most famous role was playing the oldest sister in Different Strokes, which was for almost a decade.
What you talking about, Willis?
What?
That's the catchphrase from Different Strokes.
Oh, really? I've never seen the show. What's the premise?
Isn't that the one with Gary Coleman?
Frig, man, I don't know. Who the hell's Gary Coleman?
Oh my God, Bob. Yeah,
I did research. I just, not enough, I guess. Clearly not enough.
He's the really short guy. He says, what you talking about, Willis?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah, Gary Coleman.
Yeah, her life is like very tragic. I'm going to bring it up.
Okay.
Just because it's interesting. Well, also, they filmed this in 86. In 87 they filmed this, and her career was already on the decline by then. Different Strokes was over. She had substance abuse and alcohol abuse problems and like was dealing with mental health. And basically her career was plummeting. And then she did this gig and they shot for 16 days. And then she did a bunch of like sort of shitty B movies and stuff as her career continued to plummet. And then she was divorced in 1990 after she had one child with her husband. And then in 1999, she died of an overdose, which they later ruled was suicide.
Right.
Because she OD'd on prescription drugs. And then in 2010, her son, her only child, also committed suicide.
Oh, wow.
So just like a lot of tragedy in her family. And there's something, I don't know, there's something interesting about the fact that she's like part of this game's legacy.
Yeah.
And it was the first video game to use a celebrity. Video games now will like do motion capture of celebrities and like render them into video games.
Yeah.
But this was the first example of like actually just using a celebrity as the celebrity, you know? Anyways, a little bit about the game. So in 1986, Hasbro bought a new technology called Control Vision.
Yes.
It was created by Axlon. The system used a VHS and computer technology to create footage-based gaming experiences. And this is sort of the genesis of what Night Trap and what Shark Sewers? What's that other game?
Sewer Shark.
Sewer Shark. Those are two games that Hasbro was working on for like 5 years.
And make your own music video, CNC Music Factory.
Yeah, what Mike just said. That sounds...
that just sounds like a bunch of random words to you.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no like semantic connection for me between each of those words and my own life.
CNC Music Factory was the group that did Everybody Dance Now.
Oh,
They were huge at the time.
I bet. Can only imagine because I wasn't born yet. I wasn't
Everybody
even
Dance Now.
conceived. So they shot the footage in 1987, and then editing and programming commenced for 6 months. And then at this time, they were working on a few other games with the same technology. And I don't know what it was, but I guess Hasbro wanted to release all of these at once, and they were trying to build a new system to accommodate them. And that took a lot of R&D. And then in 89, they kiboshed the whole thing because the expenses were too high, and the system that they were designing was going to be too expensive.
Yeah.
They wanted the system to be $199, and it was going to be like $300 or something. Like, it just kept going up. So they were like, oh, no one's going to buy this. So they dropped it. The executive producer, Tom Zito, purchased the footage and formed Digital Pictures to finish the game. And then it was released in 1992, 5 years after filming.
Wild.
At which time, like, Dana Plato's career was plummeting even more and more. Like, I'm sure this gig just turned into like they filmed it and it'll never be released. But then it was released in 92, 5 years later.
Yeah.
Must be weird to shoot stuff and not have it show up for so long. So it was shot in 16 days, directed by James Riley, and shot by the cinematographer Don Burgess, who did Forrest Gump.
That's right. I did know that. Yeah.
Yeah, which is cool. It's just a weird little, and they shot in Culver City for 16 days. Apparently it was a nightmare. Like, the production was really annoying because they were trying to figure out, like, wrap their heads around this technology, which didn't really exist. And they were shooting this like a movie.
Yeah.
But the timing was very specific. Doing this now would be easy, but then, like, they were developing the film and then watching it back and then realizing that they would fuck up the timing for the game.
Yeah.
And so there was a real sort of, like, technological hurdle that they had to overcome in order to do this. But they shot for 16 days. Apparently it was, like, tedious and difficult, but they did it. And then the footage took 5 years before it came to fruition. And then also critically, the game kind of wavered between it's okay and it's really bad. Some people liked the B movie kind of aesthetic, and they thought that was charming. And then it's had a renaissance as it's sort of gone through the ether of time, and it's come out as like a crown jewel of like cringe gaming, I guess, or something. There's like something charming about it now that it didn't have when it came out in 92.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird relic.
Yeah, but also I think tech got so advanced. Like, now you can just get you can emulate any N64 game on your computer, and it doesn't require very much technology, and so, like, to reissue this game on the Switch is like no problem.
Yeah.
Anywho, that's basically all I have about Night Trap. Let's talk about how they're one and the same, Mike. I guess they're both just like nonsense plots.
Oh yeah, that's
like
good,
they just don't actually have a plot. They're just like everything is arbitrary.
Well, the story is kind of clutched together to justify the gameplay, I guess.
Yeah, which is, I think, an example of early game making, and that's maybe subsided in modern games.
Mm-hmm. However, both of the stories involve a single building that is filled with traps.
That's right.
Because
Mario
Mario
that's a good
explores
one.
the castle.
I guess
he's
they
just in
both
the castle
have...
the entire time, even though he goes to all these different places, but they're just painting. So you're technically still in the castle.
I will say that concept is amazing.
What is that?
Like
Mario 64?
Like, it could be like a movie. Like, just the fact that it's like just a castle with very finite square footage, and then you go into this painting and you're just in this new world.
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, they really justified it cleverly, I guess.
They both have sort of like faceless villains that are just trying to kill you for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because a bunch of stuff's trying to kill you in Mario 64. And then same with Night Trap. The augurs are just like, they're just doing their thing. Everything's just doing their thing unless you walk by them, and then they want to kill you.
Yes. That's great. There's both games have a very self-aware use of cameras. Because in Night Trap, obviously you see all the different cameras, and you control the traps based on what you're seeing in all the different cameras, and you can switch between them. And then in Super Mario 64, Lakitu, formerly, one of your villains, is now working for you, I guess. And he's your camera guy. And
that's right.
Yeah, and the game has like a self-aware moment where you're in a hall of mirrors, I think, at one point, and you can see Lakitu behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so he's the camera guy. They introduce him right off the top, and the game kind of acknowledges like, hey, you got to control this camera guy too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's similar with Night Trap, I guess. Did you find the camera work in Mario 64 difficult? Like, because you have to control it. Sometimes it kind of gets behind a wall.
It gets pretty fucked up, but you do get used to it. And then you realize, like, you can change your camera and do shit at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, it just takes practice. It's just a different way of gaming, because with modern games, it just does everything for you.
Yeah.
But I don't know, there's something fun about it.
Yeah. I never really had a problem with it because that was just how the game worked.
It's all you knew.
Whereas now, it's something that's not how the games work. It usually is kind of done for you. But back then, it's like, oh, I want to do this jump. Let me just change the camera angle here just so I can get a better look at it, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Well, sometimes you're like doing jumps, like risky stuff, and you need to change the camera angle because you're like wrapping around a mountain or something, and you're hitting some wind and jumping on a moving log, and a Shy Guy's trying to fucking kill you at the same time, and you're like, whoa, I got to do all this shit.
Yeah.
And you do get good at it.
I mean, actually, Shy Guy's not in this game, Bob, so...
Yeah, what's the guy that flies?
Koopa Troopa?
No, it is a Shy Guy.
Shy Guy's not in this game.
And Mario 64.
No.
Yeah.
You know who Shy Guy is?
He
wears a robe and a mask.
The red robe.
Yeah, where is he in the game?
Red robe and mask. It's in the world. When you go into the castle, the image, you can enter it as a mini Mario or a large Mario. Like there's two entrances.
Yes.
And your size will change. There's one there. And then if you hit him right, he'll give you a gust of wind and you can spin up high and land on a ledge.
You kidding me? You know what? We're both right. Yeah, no, we're both right. He's not in Mario 64 as Shy Guy. He's in Mario 64 as Fly Guy. Because he makes you like fly.
Yeah, if he'll either kill you, or if you hit him just right, it gives you a gust of wind and you can spin like a helicopter.
Yeah, but Shy Guy as like a historical Mario character was like from Mario 2 was where he was introduced. So he was not really like an official Mario character. And then they kind of grandfathered him in a little bit.
Mm. Well, you love semantics, don't you?
Well, I'm like, I played this game so many times. I do not remember a friggin' Shy Guy in this game, but it's because
Did you not remember the Fly Guy?
I actually don't really remember him, but now that I see it, I was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that guy.
The Fly Guy's on two levels, two different like worlds.
Yeah, he's on the tall mountain one.
Yeah.
Or Tiny Huge Island. And according to this wiki, Rainbow Ride and Shifting Sandland and Snowman's Land. He makes a couple of appearances.
Oh, he's in Snowman's Land?
I guess so, yeah. And you jump on him, and then he makes you spin high up in the air.
Yeah, I've only seen him in two worlds, but then again, I only have 44 stars, so.
And it says this is the only incident where a variant of Shy Guy appears after Super Mario 2. So there you go. So yeah, we were both right in that it's not a technical Shy Guy. He's like a Shy Guy variant.
Even though he's a spitting image of Shy Guy.
Yeah.
So is it Fly Guy in fucking Mario Tennis?
No, it's Shy Guy.
Oh, okay. All right. Jeez.
Unless when you jump on him in Mario Tennis, does he make you fly? Does he have a propeller on his head?
No, I don't think he does.
Yeah, Shy Guy is like the classic version. The Fly Guy variant, I understand. Yeah, it's like, what's the appeal of this outside of giving you some flight powers?
Yeah.
Anyway, we can spend so much time talking about Fly Guy. Good stuff.
That's funny. Both games kind of their release coincided with like a new system or a new addition to a system.
Yes, yeah.
Because obviously the Sega Genesis was a thing, but the CD-ROM application I think came out just as Night Trap came out too.
Yeah.
And they wanted to utilize the CD, and they're like, "Ooh, a full motion video game."
It's crazy.
The thing.
It's crazy that the Sega Genesis kind of came out a couple of years before the Super Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
And so it had been around for a while, but then they just didn't really have the sales until like a couple of years later. Yeah, I don't remember. The Sega Genesis might have came out in 87 or 89 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Super Nintendo came out in 91, which is in those days was like forever.
Yeah.
And then so the Sega CD is coming out when the Super Nintendo comes out, which is, I don't know. To me, that just kind of seems this timeline, I don't remember it this way, but it just seems kind of insane that that's kind of Sega was so far ahead in terms of the technology.
Yeah.
But they were still always catching up with Nintendo for sales, I guess.
I think Nintendo has a charm and a branding that is just like indelible and people love it, you know?
Yeah.
I will say, like, I watched this documentary on the timeline of different systems being rolled out, like each company and their timeline of systems. And it's like never the year you think it is.
No.
Like everything's like 5 years before I thought it came out.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. And then nowadays it's kind of gotten into a bit of a rhythm. I mean, it kind of changes up every once in a while, but it seems like Xbox, Nintendo, and PlayStation all kind of come out roughly within a year or two of each other, sometimes the same day.
Yeah.
Like the GameCube and the Xbox came out the same day, I think.
Oh, really?
The original one, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
great
interesting
systems.
stuff.
Great systems. Great systems.
Another samey. Going back to my comment about self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them are self-aware. I mean, aside from the use of cameras, also Mario acknowledges that he's being watched and played with by the player and says, "It's a me, a Mario." So he's like extremely self-aware and that he acknowledges that he is, in fact, a me, a Mario.
Yeah.
Or a him, I guess.
You know what I love the most about Mario 64?
Yes.
Is when you're just before you go into a painting, say you got to go check the soup on the stove or whatever, go do that. You come back, the fucker's asleep.
Yeah.
I love that. That's
he's narcoleptic. It doesn't take him that long.
No, just like 15 seconds or something. And he's just like, you know what? It's bedtime. I love that he falls asleep.
And the self-awareness in Night Trap is they have a song right off the top where they sing Night Trap. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I do.
So they're aware. I don't know if they're completely aware that they're in a video game. They must, because they're singing a song called Night Trap.
Yeah,
which is very coincidental. Because what is that song about in their world if it's not about the video game that they're in?
Here we go. All right. Night trap. Bad boys will find you. Night trap. One day behind you. Night trap. Girls in future.
Well, when you read a synopsis of the game, they're not aware
No.
of the situation. Apparently, it's a winery.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, which is hilarious. That's such a specific detail that no one cares about.
No, and
It's like,
very
they're spending
clear.
a night in a winery. It's like, what? That's insanity.
I also don't think that I cared about or got to know any character in the game.
I guess maybe like there's no real backstory in either game.
No.
Both games have a very finite list of like physical functions.
Yes.
Like obviously Mario outperforms Night Trap, but not by much. It's like you can run, you can jump, you can swim,
you can triple jump.
and then he has two special jumps.
You can climb the tree. You can hump the top of the tree if you keep holding
That's
up.
right. You can do a handstand, right?
You can do a handstand.
Yeah. Only on a tree though. And he spins when he gets a star. He does a little spin.
Yes, it gives a
And
peace
Night
sign.
Trap, you can just set off traps and switch cameras.
Yes.
But I guess like each trap is kind of a different thing because there's like a trap door, there's like a wall that like kicks you off or something. Is it the stair? Do the stairs go?
The stairs turn into a slide.
That's right. So you know those are like different physical functions.
Oh, and there's a similarity right there. There's characters slide down a slide.
That's right, and not when you want to. Often you're climbing something and then you don't hit A at the right time. You just slide down on your belly, fall off the world, and fall into the great vacuum.
Yeah, that's right.
So both full motion video game experiences have you falling into some unknown space.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
the augers, like, where do they go?
they just get in trapped. I don't know.
Yeah,
Just
but
go into the
where?
darkness.
Like, where is it? And then with Mario, like on several of the worlds, if you fall off the thing, which is just like a floating landmass, he just falls forever.
Yeah. Well, one of the ones that I had written down was that you send somebody careening into the darkness. It could be Mario. In my, I was thinking of the penguin.
Oh yes,
Because you can pick up the baby penguin and you can just be like, you know what, toss
Chuck
this guy into the darkness.
yeah.
Just toss him into the void. It's like, bye, penguin.
I think my
Wah,
favorite
wah.
part of Mario 64 are all the slide races you have to do.
Yeah, that's your favorite part?
I love it. It's so much fun. There aren't that many, but there are a few,
Yeah.
and it's a good time. It's a good time.
In both games, women are kidnapped.
I guess both games are inherently misogynistic, troublesome games that needed to be held before Congress.
Is there cake in Night Trap? Because the Mario 64, you starts with the promise of cake. It starts with the promise of cake.
I don't think there's cake. No.
Okay.
I wish.
Okay.
God, do I wish. I could go for cake right now. Son of a bitch.
I love cake. It's so good.
Yeah, me too.
We should do a episode of From Justin to
Cake.
where we compare cake and pie.
Oh.
That implies that pie is bad.
Yeah, I think they're different, fundamentally different, and it depends on the occasion.
Yeah.
I think they're both wonderful for different reasons. If I'm being honest, in the long run,
yes,
pie is always my choice over cake.
What the hell? We are not the same person.
Oh, you know what we should do is like an episode where we both think we have the best thing, and then we duke it out.
Like physical fighting?
No, like with our words and our love of each other.
I thought it was like an audio recording of us just
slapping each other.
Slapping each other.
I don't think we could fight.
No, I think we're both too awkward and lanky.
Yeah, there's never a reason I'd be like, I gotta punch Mike now. Like, there's literally nothing. I don't know. It just, that seems so unfeasible to me.
It'd be like two of the inflatable balloon guys from
Flamin'
the car
Mans.
lots. Yeah. Just smacking up against each other.
Tall, lanky, just slapping each other in the wind. A couple of wind chimes, just smacking each other.
Yeah, a couple of lank lords.
Yeah, just giving a couple slaps. No one wants that.
Nobody wants that. Both games are unnecessarily horrifying.
Right.
Because there are some moments with the augurs abducting the women that are a little bit like unsettling.
Yeah. Which is a huge reason for its controversy.
Yeah. And then in the horrifying element of Mario is like the eel. Remember the first time you encounter that eel?
Yeah.
Yeah. It just kind of comes out of nowhere and it's so like scary looking.
And it fucks you up.
Yeah, it does.
But like Bowser's scary too. Like there's a lot of scary shit in Mario.
Oh, that reminds me of another samey.
What?
Characters say goodbye because the parents leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
For a while and say goodbye. And then when you pick up Bowser and chuck him, he says, "So long, Bowser."
That's right.
So he says a nice farewell to his friend Bowser.
They have a very complicated relationship though, don't they?
Yeah, because they sometimes party together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I mean, they're clearly like colleagues. It's like all for show. You could see them like after they do their gig, they both like go to the bar and reminisce about the old days, and they're like actually buddies. But in front of the cameras, they're like, it's like WWE wrestlers. They're actually friends, but they have these fake rivalries. Both films are like very poorly based off of things from the real world, so or like pop culture, I suppose. Night Trap is like a play on like slasher films.
Yes.
And they tried to make a slasher film into a video game, and they didn't really pull it off. Almost with cartoonish. Maybe it's a depiction of stuff from the real world, but done in a cartoonish, like outlandish way. Because like the augurs are silly. They're not scary.
No.
And there's nothing really scary about Night Trap. And the acting's not very good, and it's all very campy. And then Mario's just like somehow riffing on just Italian culture.
Mm-hmm.
And not doing it very well.
No.
And I think they're both like just really funny for that reason.
Both have like very theatrical acting in it because the Night Trap actors obviously are very like everything's tuned to 11. And then when Charles Martinet says, "It's a me, a Mario," and then wah, like he's like really, he's really playing it up.
Real campy guy. Jeez.
He's a real campy guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess both have lead actors who have an extensive resume in acting from before.
Yeah.
So obviously, the guy who played Mario was in Taming of the Shrew at some point and considers himself a real thespian.
He's also in the David Fincher movie, The Game.
As who?
I mean, I haven't seen this movie, but he plays Michael Douglas's dad in the movie.
What?
Apparently.
Is that just like a meta bit?
No.
Of casting?
Yeah, the guy who plays, who's in a David Fincher movie, went on to do the voice of Mario and all of his colleagues, including Waluigi.
But he would have played Mario before the movie.
Maybe, yeah. I don't remember. When did The Game come out?
Because when did he do that weird like riff sesh at that like amusement park or whatever.
Oh yeah, so he did. Yeah, he did it before the. Yeah. So he did.
Do you think
Mario,
that's like meta casting? Because the
no.
game is literally like a video game. It's about being in a game.
Interesting.
I bet you that's like a David Fincher like fuck you meta bit.
Yeah, he plays. Yeah, maybe it is. Yeah, I haven't seen it, and freaking Charles Martinet he's a cartoon character for sure. So,
what else is he being in? Like anything? No, like it would be crazy if he's just like also in The Crown or something. You know?
9 Months, which is a rom-com. Beauty and the Beast, which is a direct-to-video version.
Mm-hmm.
A movie called The Deadpool, which is
a
Clint Eastwood film.
Huh.
He's in Anastasia. And that's about it.
Cool. Not bad.
I mean, once he got the Mario gig, why would you do anything else?
I feel like the Mario gig is like a real golden cage, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be upset if that were me, I think.
He was on Matlock on TV.
Huh.
A TV show called Reasonable Doubts, which only lasted 2 seasons.
Better than one.
Nash Bridges.
Mm-hmm.
The anime JoJo's Bizarre Adventures.
Really?
In like the 90s.
Yeah, but that's cool that he did voiceover for the English version.
The TV show Air America with Lorenzo Lamas. And that's about it. Yeah.
Wow. Both have, lead actors who had like very bizarre acting careers.
Yeah. So the first
with departures into video games.
The first Mario game he was in was Super Mario Brothers Pinball Machine. And then he was in Mario Teaches Typing in 94. And then Mario's Game Gallery, which is also a CD-ROM game. So he wasn't like, Mario 64 was his
first like true role.
But so Mario 64 was his 4th outing as Mario in a video game. He was in Super Punch-Out as well, but I don't think he played Mario in that because I don't think Mario appears in there. He appears in the original Punch-Out. Anyway, we're getting into the weeds here.
Yeah, truly. I mean, this is starting to feel over, but we got to wrap this puppy up, you know? I'm out of similarities. Do you have more? You probably have like 50 more. You're such a game nerd.
Yeah, the only thing I have left is that both games have iconic music.
Oh, yes.
Mario 64's every song is a bop. Koji Kondo, the songwriter, composer, really like hit it out of the park as always.
Yeah.
And then in Night Trap, the Night Trap theme, where they sing,
it's intense and good.
Yeah, it's very 80s.
Yeah,
and that is all.
That's great. This was fun. This is a fun departure.
This feels over. Am I right?
This feels hella over. Yeah, let's all stop doing this now. Am I right?
Well, what are your thoughts on these games, Bob?
They're fun. They're cool. I'm glad they exist.
Even Night Trap?
It's not like I don't own it. I have a friend who owns it, and that's how I played it. I would never spend money on it.
Okay.
Unless it was on sale for $2.
I bought it on sale, I think, for like $10.
Right, because I think it was going for like $25.
Yeah,
on the Switch store.
Yeah.
Back in the day when we had a Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Which we don't anymore.
As someone who came into Mario 64 late in life, does the hype that you know of the game, like, do you buy into it, or?
I do. I think like some of it is so hard, obscenely difficult, that when you actually pull it off, the satisfaction is greater than any modern game can give you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I feel. And
you're playing it on the N64.
Yeah.
Like you're playing it on the OG hardware. You're not playing it on like a new system with a new controller.
No, it's all the OG stuff. It's the same cartridge from 96 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all real. We have to blow into it a lot to make it work.
Supposedly they're coming out with a thing you can plug into your computer where you can just put the cartridges in it and play things like right on your computer.
Oh, like an adapter through USB.
Yeah. So
crazy.
you have to have the original cartridges.
Or the knockoff cartridges, if you know what I mean.
And there's also another device that came out in the last year where it's like an emulator system, but you can play Sega CD, you can play Saturn, you can play N64, I think maybe. But you have to buy these like attachments that you plug into it. So like I plug in the N64 attachment, I put my N64 cartridge in, and it'll just rip the game and store it on a hard drive for you.
That's cool.
But you can't use it to pirate games. You have to own the hardware, but then you don't have to put the cartridge back in to play it again. So you have to just have it to rip it. Yeah.
You love to rip it too. You're a big fan of ripping it.
I love ripping it, man.
I've been ripping it this whole episode, buddy.
Yeah.
I can smell it through the microphone.
Honestly, did rip it a couple of times. I cut that
Mike
out.
just keeps hitting mute, and you think it's because he has a little tickle in his throat, but it's actually a tickle in his butt.
Yeah. I just hit mute and then like wince.
Yeah.
As if I'm forcing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, this really feels over now. So thanks for listening, everybody, and arrivederci.
Next week's movies are When Harry Met Sally and
Gemini Man.
Watch those, maybe if you want to follow along. Or
they're easy to find, too.
They're
it's
easy
less
to find,
niche than what we've been doing as of late, which is making it about as difficult as it gets.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. La Vida Lactea. I mean, it's on YouTube, but...
Or the vampire one that we just watched.
Yeah, Requiem for a Vampire. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, those are the movies. We got to wrap this puppy up, you know what I mean? It really feels over now, Mike.
It truly feels over, yeah.
Okay, goodbye.
You know, I actually crashed an audition 21 years ago. I wasn't invited. I walked in the door. The guy said, make up a voice for an Italian plumber from Brooklyn. Start talking, and whenever you stop talking, that's your audition. And I started off, well, I didn't do like a, hey, how you doing? I'm under your sink. Don't bother me, which is what the first thing that came to mind. But I started thinking, well, if it's going to be talking to children all day long, because we're going to be in a face mask with things glued to my face, and I would move my face and Mario would move his face. I thought, I'd never seen Mario. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know what what I was going in for, because the system had never been invented. And the producer said, well, we don't know if it's going to work or not, but either way, you're going to talk to people of all ages, so start talking. And when you run out of things to say, that's it. And I thought, instead of a voice that's gruff and harsh, I want to do something that children be more pleased to have, and, more gentle and more, embracing and more fun. And just by great circumstance, that's the voice that came out was, it's me, Mario. Okie dokie, let's make a pizza pie together. You go get some sausage. I'm going to get some spaghetti. We're going to put the spaghetti and the sausage in the sweet pizza. Then I'm going to chase you with the pizza. If I catch you with the pizza, you got to chase me with the pizza. But first you got to eat the pizza. Then you're going to chase me. Then we're going to make a spaghetti meatballs. If I make you spaghetti meatballs, I catch you with the spaghetti meatballs. Then you got to eat the meatballs. Oh, mamma mia. And I don't know what I said, but for on and on for 30 minutes until I heard, cut, stop talking. There's no more tape. I love every character, Luigi, Mario, he's fearful, but he's courageous because he goes ahead and does it anyway. And Mario, everything's a rotten day, that grumpiness that's a part of everybody's life. And Luigi, all of us feel sorry for ourselves, and a little frustrated, All those characters are so fun because they have such real human dynamic, which I think is a piece of the genius of Mr. Miyamoto, is that these characters are very identifiable. You recognize those parts in yourself, and the part that that I love the most and that I love the most to play is Mario, because it's a character full of life and joy and happiness, and faces challenges with a wahoo, let's go, enthusiasm and joy, and of course is in love with the princess and rescues her. It's me, Mario. And Wario, have a rotten day. And Luigi too, Mario. And Luigi, and baby Luigi, and baby Mario. Wahoo!